Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be sharing a video where I look back at all of the books that I said were my favorite books of the year in 2015, which was the first favorites video that I ever did on my channel. So I'm going to be rewatching that video, talking about the books that were my favorites, and letting you know how I feel about them now that it's been 6 years since I claimed that those were favorites. So this should be interesting. I actually got this idea for a video from Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. She did these revisiting her old favorites and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was such a great series of videos and I wanted to do something similar just to see how my opinions have changed over the years. I think she did these last year on her channel, but I took like a hiatus from YouTube, so I wasn't really making videos, and I've had it on my list of things that I've wanted to do since I started doing videos again. So I'm going to do it today. And also, selfishly, since I'm watching a video, that means that I'll get to drink my tea, which is a little bit cold because I just filmed a really long video and I didn't get to drink any of my tea during that one. So here we go. Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be telling you about the top 15 books that I read in 2015. It doesn't necessarily mean that these books were released in 2015, but they are the 15 It's very funny to see this old filming setup.
I have had
my
a
bookshelf
lot of
when
books
I was
to choose
back
from
at my
because
parents' house.
I surpassed my Goodreads goal, which was 100
this was
books.
after I moved home
As of right
from
now
living
at
in
filming,
Brooklyn,
I
like right before Andrew and I were going to be getting married, so that we could save up some money.
Another week of December, so I'm expecting to read like
And I
at
have
least
my little pink
another
Christmas tree
2 to
up.
3, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I don't want this to be super long, so I'll just start
my
right
BB-8
now.
mug.
So
okay,
the first book on my list is The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. It's going to appear over here because I actually have the book right over here, but the dust jacket has somehow disappeared. It's like in my house somewhere, but it really like, it could be anywhere, so I have to find it.
Okay, pause. So the first book on my list was Wise Man's Fear, which is definitely still a favorite for me. Okay, so in this video, I said that I lost the dust jacket somehow, and thankfully I have since found that my dust jacket is intact, but I do have those books sitting on my bottom shelf, kind of holding up my Wheel of Time shelf, which has broken because the Wheel of Time is just such a massive series. And I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for them to come out with a 10th anniversary edition of Wise Man's Fear to match this beauty. So I don't have a place for it on my like main shelves, but I do still have that book. This is definitely still an all-time favorite for me. I still like Name of the Wind better than I liked Wise Man's Fear, but I do still love it. And I'm planning on rereading it whenever we get that third book announcement, which hopefully will be, you know, coming at some point soon.
It's the second book in the Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss. It was so good. I was just as engaged as the first book. There was one portion
I do talk about that portion that lost me for a little bit.
It's also the longest book that I read in 2015 according to my Goodreads stats. I believe it's 997 pages. There was one section that didn't hold my interest as much as the rest of it, but I thought that it was a fantastic second book. I really am so in love with this main character. He is just like,
Still,
I just love him so much. I don't want to spoil anything from the first book, but if you haven't read the Kingkiller Chronicles and you're into fantasy, you should make it a priority. Next on my list is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. This is absolutely one of my favorite books of the year.
Carry On, yes, totally agree. Still one of my favorite books ever. I'm very glad that this was on the list too. I have that in this video, but
it came out in October.
So I still do have Carry On. I love Carry On. I have so many editions of the second and third book in the series. This series is one of my favorites for me. The third one just came out, so I haven't actually read that yet. But I would say that this definitely still holds up as an all-time favorite. So far,
it was completely fan fiction, but it's
2015 person had good taste. We'll see what happens as we keep going.
So it just like, for so many reasons, I just loved this book, and it was so addicting. Like, I could not put it down. I loved everything in it. Read it.
Read it.
Next on my list is Blue Lily, Lily Blue.
Next we have Blue Lily, Lily Blue.
This is
Let's
the third
pause.
book in.
Still love it. Raven Cycle, still one of my all-time favorites. We've got Blue Lily, Lily Blue right over there on the main shelves because I love having Raven Boys close to me. All right, let's keep playing.
Raven Cycle Quartet.
See what I said about this book.
Well, the first two books were lovely. Like, they were so well written, and the story is really great, and they're really beautiful. This third book was just full of action. There was constantly something
Blue Lily,
happening.
Lily Blue is the action.
We're getting a lot
in
more
the series.
like the first 2 books built a lot of the world, but the third book is like where it's all happening.
Yeah.
So this book is really, really exciting. I'm really looking forward to reading the conclusion, which is The Raven King, and that comes out in 2016. Next on my list, I have Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendare Blake.
Pause there. Next up, we've got Anna Dressed in Blood. Again, this is still a favorite of mine. I really, really love this book. I actually am kind of wanting to reread this duology. Maybe I'll do that in October. I've just been finding a lot of joy in like revisiting old YA series. They've been making me really happy to listen to them on audio, and I think Anna could be really creepy to listen to on audio. This was within range of me sitting, so I'm holding it here, but let's see what else Past Kristen had to say.
And this book is the first in a duology.
Yep.
I liked it so much more than I was expecting to. But it has a very supernatural feel to it.
I ended up loving this.
The TV show, Supernatural, it is about a guy named Cass who is a ghost hunter.
Yes, this did remind me a lot of Supernatural, and I still describe it that way when I tell people to read it, because I still do. I think I was actually like literally just talking to this, not talking to this book. I was literally just talking about this book to my friend Amy on Instagram the other day and telling her that like I would read this. I really liked this duology.
It's so atmospheric, and you really like fall into it. It's seriously like entering a whole nother world, and it's so good. The next book that I have on my list is The Girl at Midnight by Melissa Gray.
Girl at Midnight.
I really
love this book too. Let's pause.
About a girl named
I still have Girl at Midnight too. It's right up there. I'm like being lazy about actually getting these books. Should I? Okay, I won't. I'll grab it. All right, hitting play again.
Who is trying to find the Firebirds that
decided not to be lazy and to grab it. I still do love this. I actually just added the audiobooks of these to my library wish list because I've been wanting to reread them. I think it's such an underrated fantasy series. Like, it's so good.
Melissa and I actually teamed up earlier in the year, and we did a nail art video.
Yes, Melissa and I did nail art videos. I forgot about those. Those are old videos, like back in my Brooklyn apartment. That was a long time ago. But yeah, I would say this still holds up as a favorite.
By Nicola Yoon. This book I got, it's an arc from BEA.
Let's pause here. So next book on my list was Everything Everything. I do not currently own this one anymore, and I would say this is the first one that is no longer a favorite of mine. Like, I enjoyed it while I read it. Let's keep playing the video. I enjoyed it when I read it. Like, I really liked most of it, and then the ending was what I didn't love about it. And as I've had 6 years to think about it, the ending kind of ruined the rest of the book for me. Like, I really didn't like the ending.
Just like charts.
I think it was like enjoyable, but it wasn't. I mean, I guess it was memorable enough to remember that I don't like the ending. But it's definitely not a favorite of mine anymore.
Like a bubble girl, and she's stuck inside her home. She ends up kind of becoming friendly with the boy next door, and her becoming friends with him.
It's funny to hear myself talk about this as a favorite, knowing that it's not something that I ended up like keeping and loving.
It's like a very, very great story. The ending is a little bit unbelievable.
Yeah, okay, I did mention the ending.
I really enjoyed it. Next up, I have A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Next up, we've got A Court of Thorns and Roses.
This is also probably my favorite book cover of the year, in addition to being one of my
still have
books.
This book, obviously. I have 3 copies of this book in all different editions, but I decided to hold this one up specifically since I do say in the video that this was one of my favorite covers of the year too. And I would say that yes, this definitely holds up and is definitely still a favorite of mine. I mentioned in here just now that I am looking forward to A Court of Mist and Fury, and little did I know that would also be an all-time favorite book. That one is definitely my favorite book in the series, like pretty much everyone else in the world. But yeah, definitely still a favorite, so this one also holds up for me. Hitting play again.
The next book was very hard to get down because it was on my Peter Pan shelf.
Tiger
Lily by Jodi Lynn
I'm talking about Tiger Lily.
This book was really beautiful.
I did really love Tiger Lily.
All about Tiger
I don't think that I own this anymore because I never really had the like inclination to reread it. But I did really like it.
But it was very interesting. It dealt with
I don't know if I would say that it's an all-time favorite, but I do have really fond memories of it. So I wouldn't say that it's an all-time favorite of mine anymore, but I would say that I did really enjoy it. So I understand why this was a favorite of the year for me. It's just not an all-time.
Next on my list is The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh.
Oh, then we've got The Wrath and the Dawn
by Renee Ahdieh. That is inspired by 1001 Nights. It's about a girl who volunteers herself to be the bride of the Khalid.
I remember really loving this book too. Like, I just really liked the writing, and I felt like the culture was so much fun. This is another one where I would say it's not an all-time favorite for me anymore. But I agree that I remember it being a favorite of the year, and I did really enjoy it, and I would still recommend it. I remember like really loving it.
So good, but
I don't own it anymore.
It's like a much different kind of setting than anything that I've ever read.
But I'm glad that I read it.
I liked that the characters were very diverse, and the main character is very, very brave, and she just doesn't take anything from anyone, and she is constantly like pushing the boundaries and trying to get to the bottom of things, and I just really admired her, so it was a really pleasant read. Next on my list is Passenger by Alexandra Bracken. This book actually comes out in 2016, but I
pause here.
Read it in 2015.
So I do still own Passenger. I'm actually holding an ARC in this video, and I still have my finished copy actually, which is signed by Alex. I went to an event at Books of Wonder and got it signed there. I have really fond memories of Passenger. I'm very curious how this would hold up now. I don't know if I would still consider it a favorite, but I remember loving it so much that it has survived like many unhauls. I didn't really like the second book, Wayfarer, as much. I thought the first one was like significantly better.
Way from the past, and she's obviously from like present time, so they have conflicting ideals, but they need to kind of
I actually did unhaul the second one, but I have
that they're in, so
kept this one because I did really love it.
That makes things very interesting. But the two of them
time travel and pirates. Andrew always mentions that from one of my anticipated videos where I talked about this one.
And to like spend time in different time periods that have happened in the past. It's very, very interesting, and they need to kind of save everything so that the entire time stream is not destroyed, and this is a duology. I absolutely need the second book.
And you're going to be disappointed by the second book.
I cannot even tell you how many times I'm planning on rereading this because it was so freaking good.
Maybe I'll reread this one too.
Next up, I have The Winter's Crime by Marie Rutkowski.
Oh.
I loved
this. Pause here. So next we have The Winter's Crime by Marie Rutkowski. Let's play again.
The first book was really good, but it took me about
okay. So I did really like this series as a whole. I think that of the three of them, because the second book that I'm talking about here, The Winter's Crime, was definitely my favorite of the
two main characters named Kestrel and Aaron. They are from very different backgrounds, and their people are kind of at war with each other, but
I don't actually own these anymore, and I wouldn't say that it's an all-time favorite. I think when I don't own something anymore, it's pretty obvious that it's not a favorite of mine anymore. So
I just I really loved
it's another one where I have fond memories of it. Actually, I have really fond memories of this one because I went to the event at McNally Jackson, and that's actually where I met Alexa and Rachel. Let me pause. That's actually where I met Alexa and Rachel, who are my two best friends now. So I always associate The Winter's Crime with meeting them. So I have more fond memories of how it impacted my life versus how I still feel about the story, if that makes sense. I'm curious how I would feel about those books if I were to reread them now, but maybe I'll potentially put those on my reread TBR.
The next book that I have is
The Sky is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson.
This is a YA contemporary, and it is about a girl named Lenny who is trying to deal with
I'm going to listen to what I have to say about this because I don't remember too much about it, unfortunately. I remember that I really enjoyed it, but it obviously didn't have a lasting impact on me because
in the town that she lives in, and both guys kind of give her something else that she's looking for in life.
Really remember nothing from this one.
Uses to help reminisce about the past, and he knows something.
I know Jandy Nelson had such a strong following back in the day.
Together. And then the new guy is fun.
I never read her other book. This was the one that I read, and I liked it.
It's just a completely different kind of love. So
yeah,
it's
not
really
a favorite.
Interesting to just see her kind of have these two separate relationships and try to decide which is the one that's right for her. I don't necessarily agree with everything that she does during the book, but it's just so well written. I know a lot of people really love Jandy Nelson's
shirt I was wearing in this video.
It was I have not yet read, but I picked it up recently, so I'm planning on it. So this one is just, I really would recommend this to like anyone
Do we
who
have
likes
anything
books
else?
about intense feeling. The next book
do.
that I have on my list is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson.
Next is Mistborn.
My fiance
How
is
funny
currently
is that?
reading
Oh,
this, but
Andrew
I
was my
stole it out of
fiance
his
back
backpack.
then.
Everybody please tell him to use a bookmark because he doesn't use bookmarks.
And I was judging him for not using
But,
bookmarks back then too. Oh my gosh,
the book
that's so
follows
funny.
Kelsier and
Okay, let
Vin.
me pause here.
There are 2 main characters. It's
Okay,
a very
so
politically
I
driven
have
novel, but it's
3
really
copies of
fascinating
Mistborn.
because
I
there
have
is
this one. I
very
have
intricate magic
the
system that
UK
Brandon
paperback,
Sanderson
and I
just
have the 10th
explains
anniversary edition, and I wish that they would make more editions.
I really love the
Mistborn
relationship
is
between
one of my
Kelsier
favorite
and Vin
trilogies
because
of all
it's
time.
not
This
a
is
romantic
still
relationship. It's
like
more of like
so
a,
much of an all-time
like a
favorite for me.
tutor-student relationship,
I'm kind of
so
impressed that
it's just,
2015
like,
Kristen had so many
it
favorites
was just like a
that
really
are like still my
enjoyable
favorites
read,
now.
and Vin
It
is
kind
trying
of
to
makes
insert
me
herself
wonder,
into the
like,
society in order
why
to
don't I'm
help,
curious what's going to be on
rebel
future
against the current
lists
government,
because
make things better.
so many
There's
of
this major
my
villain
all-time
called the Lord
favorites
Ruler, and
are
they're
on
trying
this one,
to
which is
kind
interesting.
of undermine him in a certain way, but
I reread
it's going
this
to be
one
very
and then
difficult because
finished
he
up the
seems to be, like,
trilogy
kind of omniscient.
2 years
So
ago now.
it's just really, really fascinating.
Obsessed.
And,
Brandon Sanderson's the best.
I cannot wait to read the next one.
All right.
Should read more of that. You're only on page 14. And the last book that I have on my list
Throwing
is
shade at
Daughter of
Andrew.
Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor.
Oh,
This is the
okay.
first
Let's
book in
pause here.
the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy.
Okay,
it
so I
is,
have Daughter of Smoke
basically
and
a
Bone
story
next.
about angels and demons.
This one, I
The
would say,
way that
is
she
not an
describes the
all-time
settings and
favorite
everything
anymore
is
because
so
I don't
beautiful. Her
remember as
writing
much
is
about
just,
it
like,
as I
very
would like
lovely,
to,
and
but
it's
that
very
is why
enjoyable
I
to read.
recently
It
added
also
it
made me
to
really
my
want to get Prague.
audiobook
There's a
reread
war going
list.
on between
I feel
these
like
two races of people.
it has
There is
potential
the
to
character that
still
kind of
be
gets
a favorite
sucked into this
series.
war,
I
which
actually
wasn't
never read the last
expecting,
book. I read the
but,
first 2.
It's
And I
gosh,
think
it's just so
I think
good.
that this
So
let me
those are
pause
my
here.
top 15 books.
So I think that this could be an all-time favorite series for me still, but I really need a refresher before I can say that for certain. I've been really looking forward to rereading these and then to finally reading the 3rd book. I remember that the writing style was like so beautiful, and otherwise like I don't remember a ton except what I said in the video about it being about angels and demons, which I like stories like that, so I do think this could continue to be a favorite, but this is the only one that I'm iffy on in the sense that like I'm not sure if it's still a favorite or not. I think we just have the ending of the video.
Of 2015. I would love to know which books you guys thought were the best books that you read this year. Maybe if you want to tell me like your top 5, or if you want to go ahead and write down all of your top 15, I would love to hear those too. And that's it for this. So I will see you guys soon with a new video.
Oh my gosh,
Bye.
my old ending. Oh, and I have a video in my old ending with Monica. That's so funny. I think that was like the first time that we ever hung out and collabed. She came to my house, my parents' house, and we filmed together. That was a lot of fun. Okay, so taking this out. Okay, so I have to say that overall I am very impressed with 2015 Kristen. I think that she had extremely good taste in books. It's funny because fantasy is my favorite genre ever, and I would say that like the majority of the fantasy books on the list are still all-time favorites for me. And then the ones that don't stick out to me anymore were the 2 YA contemporaries that I mentioned, the Jandy Nelson book and the Nicola Yoon book. So yeah, those are not favorites for me anymore. And actually, you know what? And Tiger Lily too. I wouldn't say Tiger Lily's an all-time favorite. So there are 3 of those, no 4, because I said Wrath in the Dawn too. So like there are some of them that I did really enjoy, but I wouldn't consider favorites anymore. But there were a lot of books on this list that I would still consider all-time favorites, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I would say 7 of the 15 books on this list I would still consider favorite books of mine, which is pretty impressive because it's been 6 years, and that is just about half of what I talked about. So that was interesting. I'm now like really excited to do the future ones because I thought this was a lot of fun, so I hope that you guys enjoyed it too. Let me know your feelings on my 2015 favorites and versus like my feelings now in 2021. That's all that I have for this video, and I will see you guys soon in a new one.
Bye!
Bye!